Hi everyone, I'm Kariba Divine and welcome to 12 News in Focus. Every week we take a look back at some of the great stories brought to you from our 12 News journalists. On today's show, how a Gilbert teacher's legacy of service is outlasting his career, and an unexpected citrus nursery right here in the valley. But first, why blue pigeons are being saved along the Salt River.
At Crystal's Critter Haven, animals of all shapes and sizes come through the doors.
From horses to hummingbirds.
But recently, two of her newest patients stood out from the rest, bright blue pigeons. Founder Crystal White took them in after a woman spotted the birds along the Salt River.
And I said, well, I can help you, bring them in. And didn't think much of it. And she goes, well, there was 3 more that I couldn't catch.
So she turned to social media for help finding the others, concerned they could be easy targets for predators.
They don't blend in well with our natural setting.
That's because their feathers were dyed blue for a gender reveal. Sacred Dove Release, a Queen Creek business, organized it for a Valley influencer couple.
I thought it was a beautiful, idea because of the celebration that she was trying to make happen.
Owner Monica Flores says this was the first time her business has ever done a gender reveal, and the first time dye was used on the birds.
I would never put my birds in harm. I use non-toxic food coloring. I have my own procedure on how I apply it to them.
Flores says most of the birds returned home.
They're thriving and happy and flying around.
And that it's normal for some to fly long distances before coming back.
The birds could travel up to 300 miles. Sometimes they don't come directly home, but they always make it home.
Still, Crystal warns putting any substance on a bird can come with risks.
They have very sensitive respiratory systems, and so them inhaling anything or ingesting anything could possibly cause harm too.
The couple involved did not want to talk on camera, but tells 12 News they were misled, saying they're heartbroken and wish they could change what happened. They say they were told the dye would wash off quickly. Crystal says that hasn't happened.
I'm very concerned with the fact that it's not coming off.
Now, Crystal tells us she's continuing to care for the birds before she returns them.
I just want to make sure that they're completely healthy before they can go back, and then they also follow up with their avian vet and make sure that they get, ongoing care and maybe stop dying pigeons.
Starting on August 1st, any pilot that lands at Falcon Field will have to pay $20.35. It doesn't sound like much. And the city says the first 10 landings a month are free. But for flight schools, some say it's going to put them out of business.
I'll probably have to shut down.
Stephen Devine is the CEO of Aero Angel, a flight school at Falcon Field, saying just one lesson consists of about a dozen landings. So with this new fee,
increased cost in the thousands per lesson per student. So it's just unmanageable for them and it's unmanageable for me. So I've actually looked at brokerage firms at selling my aircraft and potentially having to sell my business.
When the city made its decision in March, it said the fees were to help keep Falcon Field sustainable, not wanting to tax all of its residents to keep it going. But now the city is facing a legal battle over it.
A federal lawsuit has been filed by 2 flight schools here against the city of Mesa to stop these landing fees. Now the Federal Aviation Administration is getting involved after receiving complaints.
In a letter to Mesa by the FAA, it calls the landing fees unusual and problematic, that it may be inconsistent with the city's federal obligations, could affect activities, and potentially introduce operational safety risks in the region, asking that the city not implement the fee until these areas of concern are investigated. Otherwise, it could lead to the FAA not funding future projects at Falcon Field.
I hope the FAA really gives them the hammer.
Devine hoping all of this stops those additional costs from happening, not only for the sake of flight schools like his, but also for the historic airport.
And it means a huge loss for the aviation community at Falcon, and it means kind of the beginning of the death of the airport.
This may be one of the most unexpected spots in the valley. It's a desert oasis with citrus trees for days, dates, and peacocks. Yes, even baby peacocks. It's a piece of Arizona history that goes back generations.
See, these are some of the things we grow: peaches, plum, apricots, pomegranates.
How many varieties of citrus?
Actually 67 varieties. But I planted all these, actually I planted everything here.
John Babiars' roots here go back decades.
White grapefruit, red grapefruit, pink grapefruit. We even have pink lemons for pink lemonade.
The land's roots go back much further, to the Hohokam people who farmed this area centuries ago.
We find artifacts here once in a while, digging into holes and trees, you know.
Arizona's known for its 5 C's, citrus being one of those C's. How have you seen Arizona agriculture grow throughout the years?
Arizona's, the A pretty much stood for agriculture for years, except now the A changed to a D for development.
What makes Greenfield Citrus Nursery the most complete citrus nursery in the Southwest?
We start everything from scratch, basically, like your grandmother made her apple pies. You know, we start from the seed. Come on in. This is our nursery where we start all the little trees.
If you've never seen dates growing on a tree before, same. They kind of look like olives.
We grow about 8 different varieties of dates. This is the most famous one of all, called Majules.
Let's be honest here. I think the peacocks are the little local celebrities. How did they become part of the property?
You know, when I was a kid, I had peacocks. Basically, what they are for children. And, you know, they're just fun to be around.
Speaking of kids, I heard they just had babies.
Yeah, they have a lot of babies. We have about 18.
Do they ever cause a little chaos on the property?
Yeah, they all have personalities, and right now they're kind of simmered down because all the females already had their youngsters. But earlier on, there was some fighting going on and a little bickering here and there. And each one has a certain territory, but the good thing is at night also they're good watchdogs.
Only in Arizona can you find oranges and dates growing in the desert while peacocks casually strut by like they own the place. For Rediscover Arizona, I'm Crystal Long.
Coming up, keeping families safe on the road by targeting illegal border trucking.
In all of our hearts as journalists beats the idea that the truth is our North Star, and we are always digging for the truth.
Why isn't your chief of police here?
And then it's our job to make sure that we get that information out in a balanced and reasonable way.
Have you ever, since you've made this decision, wavered?
And at 12, to help offer solutions to the community and to our viewers.
Mark Curtis on 12 News and streaming on the 12 Plus app.
For nearly 30 years, Highland High School's Bob Allen has helped students discover the power of service. What began as a single class has grown into a culture of giving that has inspired more than 650,000 volunteer hours and a signature project that's helped save more than 50,000 lives.
We have all our posters and everything.
For nearly 30 years, Bob Allen has been collecting memories.
Banners and blood drive supplies.
Every banner, every photo and keepsake with a story of service.
All sorts of things that the kids have created.
When Bob arrived at Highland High School in 1996, teaching English and history, there were farms where neighborhoods now stand and no real structure for students who wanted to give back. So he built one.
Experiences they get and then some of the recognition they can get later on can change people's lives.
A life lesson Bob learned himself as a teenager. So he pitched an idea, a class where students first learn about community outreach, then live it by volunteering.
The magic of the classes is once they got in, I think they started realizing it was way more than just leaving campus and having a little freedom. It was, I get to go make an impact.
GC 105 has become one of Highland's most popular classes. Over 3 decades, students have logged more than 650,000 volunteer hours throughout the valley, helping in schools, food banks, animal shelters, hospice programs, homeless shelters.
There's so many stories we can tell.
Stories like the student who volunteered at Sunshine Acres, fell in love with equine therapy, and grew up to open her own ranch helping others heal. Or Marissa Lopez, a former student in the class, now teaching alongside the man who inspired her.
You see how excited he is for you to learn about these awesome organizations, and so you as a student, you kind of get that same enthusiasm. You got it.
All right.
also carefully tucked into that closet?
So these are kind of like what the banners are.
Mementos from the most enduring thing Bob and his students built, Highlands Blood Drives, a tradition that for 19 straight years has led the state in total donations through Vitalance High School Challenge. The achievement celebrated from the grass of Chase Field to the walls of the school's gym.
I'm seeing former students and their children donating blood at a Highland blood drive.
More than 16,000 sleeves rolled up over the years, each time giving the gift of life to 3 others. The math is there, countless lives touched. And yet, Bob still insists the story isn't about him.
The people they served, that connection, that's all I care about.
After 31 years at Highland, Bob will retire at the end of next school year.
It's hard to think of our service learning class without thinking of him.
But the culture of service he helped shape won't retire with him, because year after year, students have inherited the same lesson. The most powerful thing you can give is time.
Can end up being life-changing.
And the time Bob has given will serve for generations to come. As part of the class, students do research and present on nonprofits, programs, and the human stories inspiring who they're choosing to volunteer with. And of course, as for Bob, not surprisingly, he was nominated for this year's School Connects Champions of Education Award, and he's never going to stop looking for ways to serve. So you can believe he will be back for the blood drives with his own sleeves rolled up, even in retirement. I'm Nohelani Graf, 12 News.
U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is warning about what he calls a growing threat on America's highways. During a visit to Phoenix, Duffy said that some foreign truck drivers are operating illegally in the U.S. and don't meet requirements that American drivers must follow.
These are 80,000-pound big rig missiles, if you will, and making sure we have drivers that are well qualified, well trained.
Duffy says one of those requirements is English proficiency.
You have to speak English in America. Again, you have to be able to communicate with law enforcement when they pull you over. What kind of load are you carrying? You have to be able to read road signs. We've seen videos from all over the country. Americans who might be going to Walmart or going to church are getting killed by a commercial driver.
But federal crash data shows foreign drivers account for a small fraction of fatal truck crashes. Of the 3,831 fatal crashes involving large trucks nationwide in 2025, just 17 involved drivers who would be affected by the federal crackdown. Still, Duffy argues the issue isn't just about crash numbers. He says it's also about enforcing federal rules and protecting American jobs.
We're pulling the visas of those Mexican drivers who violate our rules. And what this is about is making sure that that American companies, American drivers have these jobs and these loads.
The practice is known as cabotage. Mexican truck drivers are allowed to bring freight into the United States, drop it off, and return to Mexico. What they cannot do is pick up additional loads inside the U.S. and deliver them to other U.S. cities. Duffy says that happens frequently in border states like Arizona.
If Mexican carriers are taking them illegally, you're taking jobs from a great American family.
Since January, the Department of Transportation says about 3,200 Mexican commercial drivers have had their visas revoked for cabotage violations.
They'll be flagged if they try to come across the border again.
Phoenix is a one-day drive from major Western markets, and Nogales remains one of the busiest trade gateways on the U.S.-Mexico border. I asked Duffy if the crackdown could cause delays.
There can be some delays, but once the Mexican drivers know that we're going to enforce the rules, they're not going to game the rules anymore.
Duffy insists the increased enforcement has nothing to do with politics.
This is American infrastructure, and it's important that we have great American rules that keep American families, when they're on the road, safe from people who may not have been well trained.
In Phoenix, Kyle Simchuk, 12 News.
And coming up, how a Navajo dog rescue is earning national recognition.
Today on Arizona Midday, we're taking you to one of many golf courses here in the Valley.
Covering the Valley. Because there's so much to do. The boats are still on the water.
Restaurants. This is their Super Bowl, and they invite you out to enjoy the big game.
Come party.
Charities.
just a wonderful cause.
And ways to stay entertained every day.
Right, there you go. Cheers. Mexicano in Paradise Valley.
Midday
Is with the community. That's all straight ahead.
Monday through Friday, starting at 2 o'clock.
From around the world to Arizona, where we're dedicated to bringing what matters home to you.
And how it affects you here in the Valley.
Every weeknight with NBC Nightly News,
followed by 12 News at 6.
Dedicated to journalism.
Dedicated to you.
Chantel Wadsworth wasn't always a dog person. She didn't even have pets.
I didn't have them until I was like 23 years old. It was the time that I was actually have a pet of my own. And from then on, I mean, I just fell in love with him, and I just really became a dog person after that.
But what she missed out on early, she's more than made up for. Chantel started Res Roads Rescue, the only animal rescue on the Navajo Reservation.
We started finding out, like, how can you help these dogs on the reservation?
Strays, puppies, unwanted dogs, mistreated dogs, even those whose owners just need help. She's been there, free of charge.
We do a lot of work with community, not only just rescuing dogs and cats, but also trying to make sure that we have resources for our community. We do a pet pantry. So really just all around general pet welfare that we're trying to help around our communities.
This dog belonged to an elderly man on the reservation who couldn't afford dog food for 3 days. Chantel took care of it. They're called res dogs, strays that people on the reservation know and see all around. These strays found on the side of the road, puppies offered up for free in flea markets. In one 2-week period, Chantel says she took in 31 dogs. And that doesn't count the ones she just helps.
Right now, there's only 2 veterinarians that I know of located on the reservation, and they're mainly on the southeast of the reservation. That's basically, they're probably like 45 minutes away from each other. One time we drove about like 18 dogs 3 hours away just to get them all fixed. And we literally waited for them all day. And then we drove 3 hours back home to drop them off with their owners.
It's almost constant work that Chantel does in addition to her full-time job. That commitment led the Humane World for Animals to name Chantel their 2026 Community Hero. Res Roads Rescue is all volunteer, funded entirely by donations. It's hard work, it's long hours, but for Chantel, the reward is everything.
It is a lot to take on, but it's desperately needed here, and that's why we've taken on this job.
William Pitts, 12 News.
Travelers have outgrown State Route 347, the 4-lane highway between Interstate 10 and the city of Maricopa.
We're growing as a city out here, and there's a lot more development going on in here, and then we have no infrastructure to get in and out of town, so we do need more lanes on there.
Maricopa is one of the fastest growing cities in Arizona. Because of that, drivers including Lewis Pinkerton say his commute is an extra 10 to 15 minutes every day, longer if there's a crash.
I think we really need it as an infrastructure if we're going to keep growing like we are.
But plans aiming to relieve some of these growing pains are nearly set to begin. A $396 million improvement project targeting a 14-mile section of SR 347 will add 1 lane in both directions.
The idea is to improve the traffic flow, reduce congestion, add capacity, and increase safety all throughout this corridor.
Crews will start the project at the end of June by repaving and smoothing the surface for widening construction later this year. The finished product will include a concrete median barrier to separate each direction, new interchanges at Riggs Road and Mammoth Way, and other improvements at Casablanca and Maricopa roads.
There's going to be a reduced speed limit throughout the entire corridor of 55 miles per hour. And then in the actual work zones, it's going to be 45 miles per hour. So we really want to make sure drivers understand that, drive safely and pay attention, and just plan for extra travel time and pack patience.
The project is expected to take more than 3 years.
I do think it's going to be worth it.
A timeline drivers say they're willing to accept for a better commute.
I think 3 years is a short time to worry about at the end product.
Construction is mostly planned for weekends and at nights during the first phase to help minimize disruptions. In Maricopa, Gabriela Becerra, 12 News.
I'm in the
APS Wildfire Operations and Preparedness Center, and this is what's housing the latest AI technology that's going to help prevent and fight wildfires across Arizona.
This is our operations center, affectionately known as the Whopper.
This is where teams are monitoring live camera feeds from across the state, looking for the earliest signs of a possible wildfire.
So we have 71 cameras across the state. They're constantly learning from each other to, try to get rid of the false positives, which we don't have many. But if you have a truck that's driving down a dirt road and kicking up dust, it's learning that that's not smoke.
We've got satellite imagery, which allows us the opportunity to see if we have monsoon activity that's occurring, thunderstorms, or if we have hot, dry, and windy conditions.
The camera uses artificial intelligence to scan for smoke and heat around the clock. This is really cool technology. If it detects something suspicious, the system can actually send alerts to APS fire mitigation teams right here and fire dispatch centers all across the city so crews can investigate quickly.
These cameras can triangulate and give an exact location to those fire resources.
Officials say the technology acts as an extra set of eyes in high fire risk areas. This technology is not meant to replace humans, but help them.
We forecast all kinds of different weather hazards across APS. As you can imagine, everything from extreme heat to wildfires or even severe thunderstorms.
As humans, we eat and sleep and have to do other things. These cameras don't. They're looking, like I said, 24 hours a day, all year round, even at night. It has near-infrared detection, so it can see flames at night and smoke.
Officials also say this technology could make the difference between life and death.
Whether it is associated with heat risk or the potential for thunderstorm activity or even wildfire, it's definitely been a game changer.
An effort with APS and emergency management like Maricopa County, Yavapai County, all the counties across the state, to make sure that we have the best technology and the best resources available to reduce the impact of catastrophic wildfire.
And they do hope to further expand this program. If you'd like to learn more, just head to our website, 12news.com. In Phoenix, I'm Tori King, 12 News.
Thanks for watching, everyone. And just a reminder that new episodes of 12 News in Focus premiere every Friday on the 12 News app. You can also watch past episodes. It's easy. Just download the 12 News app on your TV devices and you can watch for free. I'm Kariba Devine. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend.
An educated society has a lot of power. They're the ones who rise up and put pressure on our leaders. And I see us in the role as educators of current events. That's one thing we do really well here at 12 News, and do so in an objective and straight down the middle way.
Arizona needs club kids, and club kids need you. At Boys and Girls Clubs of the Valley, with support from State Farm, Valley Toyota dealers, and Semper Fi Heating and Cooling, we're helping shape brighter futures for Arizona's youth through education, mentorship, and opportunity.